volunteers. And all I can say at this moment in time is, wow, wow, this is the day that the Lord has made. And we will rejoice and be glad in it. And that's what we're praying and hoping for this afternoon, that as we come together and we see what the Lord has done, we might indeed go out thinking that there's great things ahead for those who love him. So, we're just going to have a short opening service at this time, and there's food laid out. We've had some good workers going for a couple of hours or more now, setting out light refreshments for you. Well, I thought they were light. They were told they were light, and when I went in there, I thought, well, you've done us proud. So, as long as your expectations are not too high. So, as we come this afternoon and we welcome each one that's here, there's a special welcome to our Mayor, Mr. Biggins, and it's great to see you, Mr. Biggins. I've not met you before, and the reason I've not met you before, I'm not familiar with your first name, so we can have a chat afterwards, Mr. Biggins. It's great to have celebrities, and we have some here this afternoon, but the greatest one is the Lord himself. And as we come to this event, it's been a long time coming, 20 years. And great is thy faithfulness. That's the text that we have taken for Westy Community, sorry, Westy, going back 20 years, for Kent Street Community Church. And we hope this afternoon will reveal God's faithfulness to us, his people, and to all who put their hope in him. Well, Westy Christian Fellowship, I've got to put 20 years in about 3 or 4 minutes. I am watching the clock, and knowing me and the way I can talk, it's going to be a job and a half, but start waving if I'm going over. 20 years ago, a group from Stockton Heath Independent Methodist Church, running the coffee bar for addiction problems, really felt God was leading us into Westy. And very quickly, just to run through 20 years, we found a place in Westy Village. It was the community house, and a small group of us of about 4 met faithfully as the coffee bar each week, handing out leaflets, doing door-to-door, offering our support and help and a listening ear for those with addiction problems. 2 years, it went nowhere. 2 years, we had nobody coming in to join with us. And you've got to stick in there, haven't you, at times like that. It's not always easy, but if you believe something's of God, stick with it, no matter how long it's going on. Within that 2 years, we were given a verse that said, "Who despises the day of small things?" Zechariah 4 verse 10. And at that time, that's what we thought they were, just small beginnings. But within 2 years, we were one of the first users in St Margaret's Hall. And from that point in time, the group grew, the coffee bar grew, midweek work grew with the kids, and people were coming in and finding the Lord Jesus Christ. We believed from day one that one day God would give us a building of our own. And for these 20 years, and I won't go through it blow by blow, God has proved to us that dream, because we had a dream, and Martin Luther King, wasn't it? I have a dream. I believe Joseph and the Israelite nation had a dream that one day they'd have a land of their own. For us, it was a house of our own. And God has just been so faithful to that. Although we've moved over the years from one building to another and been grateful for temporary residence, when we had to come out to St Margaret's for the floor being done, we spent about 6 or 8 weeks in the schoolrooms at Christ Church on Mosh Lane. We started the church in Oldham and Bolton School, and we were in there for 2 years. That's almost 12 years ago now. And bit by bit, God has blessed the work, and it's grown and it's grown. But very much like and Sarah, we tried to put his vision and what he'd given us into being ourselves. And we trailed Latchford, Pauline and myself, over a good many years. Every building that came up for rent, every building that came up for sale, is this the one, Lord? And we searched over those years, people associated and people within the fellowship, any available premises to see if that was the building that God had for us. From the Kingdom Hall, when it went up for sale, the Jehovah's Witnesses moved to the Kingsway pub. Everything was a possibility, but nothing was of God. And it was, just over 18 months ago, we had a word at a prayer meeting where God gave 2 leadings. And one was the Macedonian call to a Macedonian speaking to the Apostle Paul, asking him to come over and help him. Another word that night was throwing your nets on the other side of the boat, the miraculous catch of fish. And we couldn't make head or tail of it. And yet 5 days later, I had a phone call from Robbie Burton, one of the leaders here at Kent Street. After preaching here on a Sunday for a good many years, I knew it was struggling, but I didn't know what God had planned. And this was the last building that I and the others would have thought God was preparing for us. And Robbie said that night that the leadership, as small as they were, had made a decision to close the church, and she knew how earnestly we'd been searching for a building of our own. Would we like to take Kent Street Mission on? Would we like it? We did pray, I can tell you that. I'm not a fast mover, and certainly the others were in the same frame of mind to check it through. And check it through we did. Within 6 weeks or so, 8 weeks, we made a decision this was of God and went for it. We didn't know at that time, and good things sometimes, I think God hides things from us, the work that was going to be needed, and I'm sure Robbie and Norman and the other leaders had no idea the extent of the problems with the building. And so we discovered there was a great deal of renovations, stabilising walls, putting foundations, would you believe, where there was none existing, and so forth. And it took 6 or 8 months applying for funding before we received from them, who we were grateful for, more grateful for what we can say, because we've been turned down for 2 or 3 places for funding. And they accepted our application and granted us 42,000. With gifts that were given from the leadership of the Kent Street Mission, and with personal gifts that came in and fundraising, we had, believe it or not, towards 30,000 of our own added to that. And the building work started, I think it was the beginning of March this last year. And what a work it was. You know, I don't know, Justin's got a rolling reference and time span on some of the work that was going on at that time. And I hope it's set up somewhere, because it really is interesting and amazing to see what God did in this building. Emptying out tons of soil, replacing it with tons of cement. My grandson at the back's nodding away because he was one of the workers on it, with the wheelbarrow and the trowel. So, we didn't know how long it was going to take to get it ready, and God did. As we came to the decorating stage, that was a massive job, but we had help all the way through. Help from our own people here, help from a hire firm that loaned us all the equipment of cherry pickers and everything that we needed, free of charge. And that was wonderful for us with the limited funds and what we were trying to put into the building. And so, come the beginning beginning of this year, we started moving in bit by bit, first of all with a prayer group in the old vestry, prayer meetings and Bible studies. And then I think about March, our own coffee bar came from St Margaret's into what we now call the hall, the old concert room. And on it went, bit by bit, coming together. And such an amazing happening of having contact with our neighbours and residents, getting to know them, people coming in little by little. It's been a long haul. And much like the Hebrew nation, the Israelite nation on their 40 years of wanderings, we lost some along the way. Some went home to glory while we've been waiting for our own home. Some were drawn on other paths and are with other fellowships and continuing to serve the Lord. But of that, I don't think I've got a picture here, but there's definitely one on the board, and I hope you're all going to have a look at the display. The picture of the first congregation that founded Wesley Christian Fellowship. Our central heating man's just arrived. It's working well, Carl, thank you. So, as we look now to our opening service this afternoon, and we can't thank every single person because there'd be more than one left out. But what we do thank is the businesses and the firms who have supported us, who have done us proud in many different ways. We do thank as well the personal donations, as well as that wonderful donation from them. And I'd like to just read a word that we had from them when they came and inspected, and we had the local councillor, David, so many names in my head this afternoon. Yeah. He came down along with Ren, and this was the reply that Ren had to supporters after that inspection and that visit. They said, "We have been very pleased to have been able to assist with the project. It's really rewarding to see a building that was in very poor condition transformed into a facility that can be used and enjoyed by the community for a long time to come. The work has been put in by yourselves as a church and is tremendous and really adds value to the project, not only in terms of the hours donated to improving the building, but also embracing the sense of ownership of the building." And that is so true. So our thanks to Ren and to the local businesses and the builders that have helped to present Kent Street Community Church as you see it this day. But there's other thank yous as well, and we're not going into personal ones, but we do thank Eric Southwick, the president of our connection of churches, who's come up from the east to spend this afternoon with us and to be part of our service this afternoon. We are also a personal thank you for Pauline's brother-in-law, Chris Arden, and the minister at his church, Mark, who have spent hours, especially Chris, helping us for the last few months, and Mark in installing our projector, rewiring, and the speakers that we see today. And last but not least, I'd like to make a personal thank you, but I know I'm saying it on behalf of the whole fellowship, because I'd like to thank Pauline Arden, my joint worker and leader in the fellowship here, a partner in the gospel from the first day till now, when we opened that first coffee bar at Stockton Heath Church 20 odd years ago. And Pauline, I just want to say I thank you for your support in many different ways. Pauline's a people person, and her as well. We have, at this point, a thank you for Eric Smith as well. Personal thank yous are always hard because you can never in a few minutes express just how much somebody means to the work that they've done. But we do thank you so much, Eric, and Janice, that I've spoken on the phone to on many different occasions. And so, if you'd both like to come forward, we'd like to show our thank you. Eric is the one that's coordinated the whole of the project that's gone on here. And I don't know where we would have been without him. It's not putting somebody on a pedestal, or some friend I know says on a pedestal. It's thanking someone that's helped, that know hours and hours of cost, and probably financial cost as well. Will Janice and Eric come forward while we show our appreciation to you both? To invite our Mayor, Mike Higgin, to come forward and to give his greetings. I've not forgotten you. There's a long list of people. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Higgin, I'm the Mayor of Warrington. I also noticed as I walked in, there's some friends and colleagues of mayors who we're extremely privileged. We have the Deputy Mayor of Warrington, the Councillor Steve Wright, and the former Mayor and Mayoress of Warrington, Councillors Graham and Elaine Wilbur. I'm sure all of us are very pleased to be here this afternoon. I was looking at the messages which are written in front here, promise fulfilled, and I thought, well, that's quite appropriate. And then I looked up, as I was admiring the ceiling, and saw great is thy faithfulness, and the message was coming through to me then. You were like a little bit of a wandering tribe of Israel for a while there in the 10 years of barrenness, but I know that the Lord has indeed done a great job, but I've got to acknowledge that he never works alone. And I have to acknowledge also the massive support that's been given by the local community and by Ren and by individuals who have actually made this possible. Isn't it funny, you look at a building and you think, well, that's an important place, but actually it's the community and the organisation which is so much more important. Neither is important without the other. And I think part of the building of this was possibly a lesson to all of us, that the process of coming to this stage has actually brought together the community as well. So congratulations on that, and congratulations to everyone. Isn't it odd as well? I was quite admiring the light fittings and thought they were quite nice and nice. But isn't it, how often is it true that you think, if I went home and said to the Mayoress, I'm thinking of painting our house in purple and magnolia, and it looked great. It's absolutely fantastic. And surely, another important part about this is that it's not just a church, it's not just the centre of the community, but it's going to be put to community use as well. And I think this certainly feels to me as though it's the heart of something very important in the future. I recognise that this is the beginning of another great venture. I congratulate you all on your endeavours. And I thank you very much for inviting me this afternoon. Thank you very much.